The gentleman from Colorado for 5 minutes.
I thank the chairman and the ranking member for holding this hearing, and I want to thank both of our witnesses for your service to our country and for your testimony today. I want to pick up on a point that was just articulated by my colleague from South Carolina. Both of you have served with distinction as federal judges. You both had very extensive and distinguished careers in private practice, as well as in the government. Assistant U.S. attorneys, a variety of different high-profile cases that both of you prosecuted in the past. You both were appointed by President Trump to your current positions on the respective Circuit Court of Appeals in which you serve, and you both were confirmed unanimously by the United States Senate, which is no easy feat. Do either of you believe that the federal judiciary is, quote, politically compromised, end quote, as my colleague from South Carolina just suggested? Judge Scudder?
I don't. Thank you for your compliments. I don't. My experience in the Seventh Circuit and with my colleagues all around the country is very much in keeping with the comments and the observations that Representative Raskin made with respect to the seriousness with which judges take their oath and approach each case or controversy that comes before them, to look at the facts and the law, to try to get it right, recognizing that there's an appellate process in place if the losing party disagrees, where the ruling can be challenged.
Judge St. Eve?
I would echo Judge Scudder's comments, and thank you for your compliments. I've been a judge for 23 years now and feel the exact same way that Judge Scudder does.
Well, I want to say thank you both for your candor, and I think it is important contextually for this committee and I think for the American public to hear jurists such as yourselves articulate what you just described. And of course, the reason is self-evident. This hearing, it's a bit odd because if one were watching it, you'd think it's a fairly atypical, or excuse me, not an atypical hearing, a fairly normal hearing discussing budgetary and technology matters that the judiciary is trying to grapple with. And yet, we find ourselves in very abnormal times. I'm sure it's not lost on either of you that several of my Republican colleagues are actively debating defunding federal district courts, potentially defunding circuit courts that issue opinions that they disagree with. You all are aware of this. I'm sure you've seen some reporting in the news that suggests this. I can represent to you that having served on this committee and served in the House and been witness to the conversations over the last 5 months, that's an active matter of consideration. How do you respond to that? What would it mean, Judge St. Eve, if the Congress were to defund a district court? You heard my colleague from South Carolina vociferously attacking Judge Boasberg, who I suspect you know.
We've submitted our budget for fiscal year 26 of $9.4 billion and can justify our requests for the court security, the defenders, the S&E account, and the fees of jurors. And as I said in my oral statement earlier, funding of the courts is essential for us to carry out our constitutional and statutory duties.
And I completely concur with your assessment on that front. But I guess, and I recognize it is a question that may be a bit uncomfortable, but again, this is an atypical time we find ourselves in. How will the Budget Committee of the Judicial Conference respond if the Congress successfully defunds a district court? So if that happens, that could happen. The Republicans have signaled in the majority that at least some of them would like to defund a district court in Massachusetts or the Washington District Court. How will the Judicial Conference respond to that? Is that will just be the new normal, that essentially Congress is allowed and permitted to exact political retribution against a judge if they rule in a way that a majority of the Congress disagrees with?
Again, our funding is essential for the judges in every district, in every circuit, to carry out their constitutional and statutory duties, and we need that funding in order to do so.
Well, I appreciate your answer. I would simply suggest that given the abnormal nature of the times we find ourselves in, I would hope that the Judicial Conference is actively discussing how it will respond if and when proposals like the one that I've just described ultimately materialize. Because with all respect for both of you, I think the response of the Judicial Conference will have to be more squarely designed to address this particular issue, rather than the sort of broader budget proposal and the justifications that you've offered. At the end of the day, if the Judicial Conference is unwilling to defend the propriety of not having the Congress defund a particular district court, that's going to be a very untenable position, I think. That would be my request of all of you, and I thank the chairman for his indulgence on the time. I yield back.
My indulgence knows no limits for good reason. And I will note for the record that we know of no request to defund the court. And I would also, for the record, because all of us on the top dais have been here a while, we've all seen the disruption that it's caused by government shutdowns to branch, including Article 3, and would say that all the proposals by one-of-a-kind members who might say something like that pale in comparison to even a few days of shutting down the government, which often disrupts the court in a huge way. And with that, I go to my